Greetings everyone and welcome to Southern New Hampshire University Justice 103 Corrections. My name is Joe Davis and I'll be your instructor for this particular class. I want to take a few minutes because there's some things that I think are important for me to share with you as an introduction or a welcome. Number one is my professional experience, and I don't usually repeat all of this in these video mini lectures, but I spent almost 30 years at the Orange County Sheriff's Department, second largest sheriff's department in the state of California, seventh largest jail system in the United States. So I have a lot of experience, attended a lot of conferences, international conferences, developed an ethical leadership program with a wonderful group of people. It took us 2 years, presented at American Corrections Association, American Jail Association. I had been retired for 5 years when I was still being subpoenaed back into federal court over jail cases. Also had several deputies, one of my sergeants and a lieutenant subpoenaed to the grand jury the day I started in the county jail system. All but the lieutenant invoked their Fifth Amendment rights. So I have quite a broad background. We're going to go through the course shell, and I want to look at some announcements, the syllabus, the modules, the course information, where you can get some writing support, smart thinking, online tutoring, academic advising homepage, and then the writings. The welcome, the announcements you should be familiar with. I'll be posting something to you at least a couple times every week. Among them will be the additional video mini lectures like this one. Make sure you understand the accessibility, and please make sure you understand the late assignments. Discussion boards are due on the deadline at the end of the week, typically on a Sunday. Late submissions for the discussion boards aren't accepted. That's by university policy, because the whole idea is that it is a discussion that you post and someone replies. It's supposed to replicate the classroom. So at least by example, everyone's in the classroom talking about whatever we're talking about, and then they go home and one student comes in the classroom and is going to have a discussion by themselves. The other is I'll accept papers late up to 1 week with a 10% penalty for that. If an assignment is going to be later than 1 week, please let me know. I understand completely that stuff always happens. I got my degrees at night and working in the county jail system as a young deputy, so I understand it. All right, so when we look at the the learning modules, there's what you're supposed to learn in the course, and I would say the key part here is to analyze the current and future issues of corrections. You need to learn to analyze these things and think outside your normal thinking. Now, if you want to find support for your existing beliefs or answers or theories, that's great. But you have to do the research so that you can defend it and not just say, well, that's the way it ought to be. All right, so let's take a look at Module 1 and see what we're supposed to do. There are 2 PowerPoint presentations provided by the publisher, so that if you don't get a chance to read the 2 chapters, they're only 65 pages total. So that's really not much. That's about an hour's commitment of time, maybe an hour and a half. You can go through the PowerPoints. The difficulty is, of course, there's no explanation of everything. There are module resources available to you. This is true for every module. The textbook, BJS, Bureau of Justice Statistics. If you're looking for stats, you can find almost anything you want there. This particular website article talks about the different theories of punishment and the history of punishment. If we're going to advocate for a position, we might want to know what the background is, what's happened. And then there's another article on the theories of punishment. Corrections.com is good for corrections officers, but you may want to hit it a couple times and see. And then finally, the National Institute of Corrections, their library, books focused solely on the idea of corrections, jails and prisons. Okay, and so we go back to the learning module. We've now looked at, oops, I should have just hit the back arrow. So we're going to take a look at the next item up, and that's the discussion board. I'll do a whole nother little mini lecture on how you should best complete your discussions, what the material in the rubric guides you to do. Your next assignment in this week is a PowerPoint presentation that you have to create. I will do another little short presentation on that to help you. There are 10-point question quizzes, 10 question quizzes worth 20 points every week, and then you should take time to review the final project, because that's where you're building to with a building block or milestone use of papers. And then finally down here are the rubrics and the guideline assignments for every assignment. And so you should take a look at that, make sure you read it. When I grade your papers, the rubric is open because that's what's there. Okay, the idea of using the discussion board for general questions, is great, because if you have the question, probably someone else has the same one. So the discussion for this week, for week 1, and again, as I said, I'll do a little mini lecture on it, is that they explain the difference between determinate and indeterminate sentencing and identify which one you think is more effective and why. That's basically out of the glossary of the book. This is a softball question for the first week, so that you can get your feet under you and hit it on stride. There's my little bio background about where I went to school. Yeah, another picture of me. But it's a chance for you to realize, at least at this point, I'm not the cuckoo that you may have thought I was. Okay? All right, we're back in the PowerPoint, and I do want to talk to all of you about the workload. This class takes a significant amount of time. I realize that you're working, maybe you're taking more than one class. You just have to figure it out, because I would say you're going to spend 10 or 12 hours each week to complete all the assignments. Remember that we're not meeting in class, so that's 3 hours twice a week, or whatever it is if you're at a traditional on-ground school, or maybe 4 hours at night, plus you need to make up the work. Okay, so here's the week 1 assignments. I put an asterisk by the ones that I will be doing videos on. I think maybe I already said it, but I think there will be 5 videos for week 1. Usually there are only 2 or maybe 3. The late policy I did talk about, discussions if they're after the deadline on Sunday night, Saturday night of the last week, 10%, there's no points, because at that point it's no longer a discussion. If you need extra time to submit assignments, excluding the discussions, I can grant up to 1 week. This is all university policy. Okay, and after that you need special, some really special reason. That's just more of the same. I just wanted to make sure that you did it. Please also review the academic honesty policy if you're new to the university or not familiar. Southern New Hampshire University maintains a very high academic standard and a very high level of integrity. When it talks about safe assigns, every paper that you submit goes through a software program called Safe Assigns that actually checks your paper against millions of other papers. So that if you have cut and pasted a portion of your paper from somewhere, it'll highlight it and tell me exactly where. It'll show me where that source is, it'll give it to me, it'll take me to that source, it will highlight the pieces that you have cut and pasted. So what I would say to you is, if you're thinking about plagiarizing, don't do it. And the other part of that is, academically, if you put quotation marks around it and quote your source, then you've given credit. You didn't plagiarize the material. The problem with that is it also means you're not writing anything. And so it has to be that balance. I want to see your critical thinking skills. Okay, I hope that helps. Keep the cards and letters coming. Please let me know if there's anything I can do. I already mentioned using the general discussion for questions. If you have specific issues, of course, email me. I do have a phone contact. I would ask that you limit those calls to extreme situations. That's because, of course, there is no record of that for the university. But good luck on all of this. Keep the cards and letters coming, and let me know what I can do to help you.